Unmanned systems have become more and more prevalent in all aspects of warfare. There seems to be one final frontier, which is not the fighter aircraft. We have seen unmanned recon aircraft, unmanned ground vehicles, even unmanned submarines. Fighter jets are absolutely the most difficult role to take out the man. They're moving and maneuvering at several hundred, even over 1,000 km per hour, and pulling incredible Gs. They need to have full awareness of its surroundings, and have to make split-second decisions on when and how to react. But just now we are starting to see the very beginning of what will become unmanned fighter aircraft. This inherent difficulty in creating unmanned fighters is the reason why we don't see them yet. Today, to get them to work, you almost certainly need to incorporate artificial intelligence into it, as any remote operator will have that slight, but vital delay in the time that it takes to send and receive, process and perform the command that was sent. While artificial intelligence has come a long way, it's still a relatively immature technology to man a fighter jet. You need to teach it how to act in every situation. For example, should you try to engage a target or not? What if it's only 75% positive that the target is an enemy? Or 80 or 90%? What if another manned fighter jet needs help? Should it break off and help, or stay and fight? There are a lot of problems and moral issues that can arise. If a fighter pilot makes a bad choice, you can easily hold him or her accountable. But if a computer does so, then who is responsible for it? The 2005 movie Stealth touched on a few of these problems. But, as the technology improves, these issues will be figured out. We are already starting to see the next generation of drones being developed. At first, they were slow, propeller-driven and had very limited capabilities. Then engines on board made them much faster. These latest drones are now able to keep up with manned fighter jets. Things like the XQ-58 Valkyrie, Boeing's ATS, and others, can reach top speeds of over 1,000 km per hour. They're stealthy, and clearly take on a shape much more akin to highly maneuverable fighter jets, instead of the more flying like B-2 bomber shape that we've been seeing from recent drones. For now, they're not armed with any air-to-air weapons, but that doesn't discount them. They will fly alongside manned strike fighter aircraft, and will be able to be controlled by the aircraft or AI. They will carry multiple sensors to help locate enemy targets or threats, while possibly keeping the manned aircraft out of sight. And if a threat appears, say they come upon an air defense system, and that system fires on it, it could possibly be used pretty much as a decoy, sacrificing itself to save the manned aircraft. It can carry electronic warfare packages, chaff and flare dispensers and more. And all that for a tiny fraction of the cost of a full manned airframe. Boeing's ETS is part of a program called Loyal Wingman. And that's the perfect description of what these things will be. They will be an expendable wingman, without the risk of losing pilot or expensive aircraft. It will fly alongside manned aircraft, carrying infrared search and track, or even air-to-air radars that can detect enemy aircraft and send that information over to the manned aircraft to attack, all without the manned aircraft having to turn on its own radar, which would alert the enemy of its presence. It's hard to overstate just how much of a game changer these are. In an age where manned aircraft are getting more and more expensive, this gives the nation a low-cost option, where you can afford to suffer some losses in combat, which would enable you to take on more risky missions. The plan is for these things to cost a couple $1 million each, compared to manned aircraft, which are costing 50 times that. Now, whether that will be possible is questionable. The Reaper drone itself cost over $25 million. But either way, it will enable you to buy and operate many more aircraft during a war. At a certain point, the US had over 50,000 fighter aircraft, and losing one or two besides for the horrible loss of life, obviously doesn't have much of an effect on the bigger picture. Today, with few nations even operating more than 500 fighters, losing one or two can make a big difference when those aircraft are spread out across the battle space, and many down for maintenance. The drones we're all familiar with today, like the Reaper, are great for the role. They're useful, but they won't be able to stand up to the modern battlefield. Their extremely slow speed, and lack of agility, means that they're sitting ducks for any air defense system. They also rely on an operator back home to control it was a very narrow field of view of its surroundings. The move to these quick maneuverable AI-controlled UAVs is a must to be a viable weapon in modern warfare. And, going forward, you can easily imagine, these will eventually be armed with air-to-air missiles themselves, turning them into full fighter jets. In fact, the Reaper has already shot down another drone in the air, during a test back in 2017. And, there have been several discussions, about using drones to carry missiles for fighter jets. DARPA's flying missile rail concept, for example, would carry several AMRAAMs be controlled by the manned aircraft, and, ordered to launch when needed. Either way, this is clearly the direction aerial combat is slowly heading. It won't be this year or next. But, further down the line, we will be seeing fully autonomous drones, fighting in the skies, in the same manner we today think of manned fighters.